Upon discovering that the antagonist is a mermaid who sheds pearls when weeping, I retrieved a discarded pregnancy test from the trash bin. I then made my way to the rooftop. By the way, how many offspring do mermaids typically have? Do they consume fish feed or infant formula? At that moment, Jiang Yi, who was contemplating suicide, slipped and nearly plummeted from the 18th floor. I shook my head and sighed. Forget it, once the child is born, I shall simply cast it into the sea. Later, when the child arrived, Jiang Yi was too apprehensive to even sleep, fearing that I might release it into the wild. The female lead and the male lead were at odds, and when she came knocking, he was vociferously berating the swimming performance of their eldest. You are a mermaid? How can you be afraid of water? I was aware that Jiang Yi was the principal villain of this world, and I was the wife his grandfather had sought for him in his dying moments. My mission upon arriving here was ostensibly to save him. However, I had been negligent in my duties, not only failing to rescue him but further extravagantly squandering his wealth and commandeering his bed. The system, observing the stagnant, darkening value, was utterly despondent. Its final appearance was marked by a cold remark. On the day the antagonist meets his demise, I shall come for you. This wait extended for over half a year. Today is an auspicious day, explicitly noted in the almanac, suitable for burial. As Jiang Yi, heartbroken by the female lead Qinmen Gran, ascended to the rooftop alone, I had already adorned myself with the jewels from the safe, eagerly anticipating the system's arrival. However, upon its manifestation, the system's first utterance was, "Host, why are you wearing the antagonist's tears?" "What?" I exclaimed, glancing down at the exquisite pearl necklace gracing my neck. Jiang Yi belongs to the merfolk. These pearls are his tears. The system elaborated. A mermaid? A mermaid who sheds pearls. My worldview shattered instantaneously. This was no mere villain, he was a veritable treasure trove. The string of pearls had originally been concealed in a hidden compartment of the study, and I had assumed it was a birthday gift intended for Qinmen Gran. Yet, even after her birthday celebration had concluded, the gift remained unpresented. Thus, on a dark and blustery night, I seized the opportunity. I recall, when Jiang Yi discovered me adorned with it, his gaze filled with complexity as he queried, "Do you like this?" I rolled my eyes in response. Of course. Who would turn down wealth? I had sought an appraisal. It was worth a staggering 120 million. In retrospect, his expression clearly conveyed the sentiment. "So, you delight in my tears?" "System. I believe he can still be salvaged," I exclaimed as I hastily tore off my pearl necklace, rummaged through the trash for the pregnancy test, and raced to the rooftop. At that moment, Jiang Yi had already crossed the railing, half of his body dangling over the 18-story precipice. "Wait," I gasped, raising the pregnancy test. "By the way, how many offspring do mermaids typically have? Do they consume fish feed or formula?" His foot slipped, nearly sending him plummeting from the 18th floor. He clutched the railing tightly, his body suspended in midair. "What did you say? You don't wish to take responsibility?" I felt a twinge of disappointment. How could I tell him that revealing this only hastened his demise? Then never mind. When it's born, I'll just toss it back into the sea. After all, it was merely an accident following his herbal remedy. Perhaps he wouldn't even remember it. Before I could finish my thought, a shadow had leapt back over the railing, pinning me firmly against the wall. "You dare!" His eyes surged with tumultuous waves. I couldn't help but smirk subtly, relieved. Excellent, the gold mine was safe. After returning from the rooftop, Jiang Yi was decidedly off-kilter. He settled me in the bedroom before retreating to the study, locking the door behind him. I pressed my ear against the door and overheard a hurried conversation within. "Doctor, you mentioned that human pregnancies involving mermaids require daily immersion in seawater?" His voice suddenly rose. "But she is currently pregnant." I stifled laughter, my stomach aching. Who would have thought that the malevolent antagonist was now frantically consulting obstetric knowledge over the phone, his voice trembling? When the study door swung open abruptly, I nearly stumbled into his arms. Jiang Yi swiftly steadied my waist, the warmth of his palm seeping through my clothing. He gazed down at me, his focus landing on my flat abdomen, his Adam's apple bobbing. I'm hungry," I interjected boldly. "I want to eat the seafood porridge you personally prepare." Soon enough, the kitchen echoed with the clattering of pots and pans. The butler lingered at the door, hesitating to speak. "Sir, the last time you cooked, you nearly set the kitchen ablaze." "Oh, it's fine. He has the means," I replied nonchalantly. "If it burned down, we would just find another place to live." An hour later, Jiang Yi emerged from the kitchen, his face charred but the dish in hand looking acceptable, likely free of poison. As I scooped a spoonful of porridge towards my mouth, he suddenly restrained my hand. "Wait." Jiang Yi meticulously picked out every shell fragment, checked the temperature, and then handed the spoon back to me. I feigned a frown. It's too bland. His hand, poised to reach for the salt, froze midair as he turned to his tablet, diligently researching the daily sodium intake for pregnant women. Thus, I began to indulge in a life akin to that of a pampered empress during my pregnancy. Each morning, I was greeted with freshly squeezed orange juice prepared by the antagonist himself. During baths, he treated me with the utmost delicacy. And even when I woke him in the middle of the night due to leg cramps, he would gently massage me back to comfort. One particular morning, I groggily awoke to find him measuring my waist with a soft tape, his expression grave as if he were defusing a bomb. What can you discern in just a month? I teased him. Jiang Ye's ears turned crimson, yet he persisted in recording the data into his phone's memo. Titling it Mermaid Offspring Observation Diary. The most remarkable moment occurred last week when a business associate sought him out at the company. And when the security called to inform him, Jiang Yi was kneeling on one knee tying my shoelaces. He spoke coldly into the receiver. Do not disturb me with such matters. My wife is napping. After which, he tenderly tucked the blanket around me. At that moment, I reclined on the terrace rocking chair, watching Jiang Yi construct a swing set in the garden. The sunlight painted the tips of his hair a warm amber, creating a heartwarming scene. Suddenly, the system displayed a notification. Warning. The antagonist's darkening value has decreased to 90. Host, it queried with uncertainty. Are you sure this will save him? I smiled as I caressed the pearls around my neck. At the very least, he no longer wishes to perish, does he? After Jiang Yi finished the swing set, I wiggled my toes. Darling, my leg has cramped. He wiped his hands clean, knelt down, and began to massage my leg. The system chimed. 6. Darling, I desire pink pearls. Recently, I had seen a stunning pink pearl at an auction, unfortunately purchased by the male lead Su Yao to please Chen Mengran. Cry for me, I said casually, placing a plate of grapes beneath his chin. Jiang Yi paused, raising his head, his deep sea-like eyes filled with disbelief. The color of pearls depends on the mermaid's emotions. I don't care, I replied, stroking my belly leisurely. If you don't cry, I will release your offspring. His expression shifted instantaneously. 3 minutes later, I stood in stunned silence as I observed the formidable antagonist, now with reddened eyes, shedding pearls like raindrops. The pale pink pearls rolled into the plate, creating a melodious sound. The system suddenly chimed. The antagonist's darkening value has decreased to 85. I gleefully gathered the pearls. This task was far too simple. At this rate, Jiang Yi was likely to become a Navi, pearl-dropping mermaid under my care. However, just as I believed victory was assured, Chen Mengran arrived. Clad in a pure white dress, her eyes swollen with tears. She stood at the villa entrance like a rain-drenched white rose. Jiang Yi, I beseech you to save my father. Her voice trembled. He has been captured, and only you can locate him. I blocked the entrance, laughing coldly. Go find Su Yao. Chen Mengran bit her lip, tears streaming more fiercely. He lacks such connections. I paused momentarily, then quickly comprehended. Indeed, the male lead was eternally the sunlit, righteous tycoon, while the antagonist thrived in darkness, dampness, and unscrupulousness. Thus, when the world required unscrupulous means, the female lead's first thought was invariably of Jiang Yi, whose hands were stained with blood. I glanced back at Jiang Yi, who stood quietly at the staircase's bend, his gaze inscrutable, holding the slipper I had just kicked off. An inexplicable fury surged within me. You shall not go. Chen Mengran bit her lip, her tears threatening to spill. If Songji forbids it, then so be it. As she turned, her skirt traced a sorrowful arc. Just as she was about to step out the door, Jiang Yi suddenly spoke. Wait. I watched in disbelief as he knelt down, gently fastening my slipper and even adjusting its position. Then, this scoundrel actually stood up and followed Chen Mengran out. Jiang Yi, I hurled the slipper at his head. If you go, do not return. The slipper hit its mark with a resounding smack. He paused momentarily, not looking back, merely rubbing the spot where he had been struck, and continued onward. I was so furious that I nearly threw the other slipper as well. At 3 a.m, I checked my phone for the 20th time, the screen still dark as night. Suddenly, the system chimed a warning. Warning. The antagonist's darkening value has risen by 12. Current value 97. What? I shot upright, nearly straining my back. I've been like a brooding hen, laboring to diminish his darkening value by 15. And he regains 12 points just by spending one night with a female lead? The system quietly added, more precisely, it was 4 hours and 38 minutes. What? Did Chun Men-gran use him as ransom for the kidnappers? I scoffed, placing a hand on my belly. Suddenly, the sound of a car engine echoed from outside. I darted to the window, witnessing Jiang Ye's Maybach glide slowly into the courtyard, its headlights casting two hazy beams through the curtain of rain. What infuriated me further was the sight of him disembarking while holding something in his hand, a conspicuous box emblazoned with the logo of the famed seafood restaurant, Sea Moon. That exorbitant establishment was Chun Men-gran's favorite haunt. Just splendid, I gritted my teeth and commanded the system, exchange for the false miscarriage, item immediately. The system, flustered, stammered, and master. Please remain calm. The vitality of mermaid offspring is quite resilient. This item costs 5,000 points. Do I appear to care about points? My lackadaisical attitude in this world stemmed from the abundant points I had amassed from prior missions in other realms, allowing me to retire comfortably. As Jiang Yi gently pushed open the bedroom door, the sight that greeted him was of me curled up on the bed, pallid, and clutching my abdomen. Gishi? His food box clattered to the floor, salmon sashimi scattering everywhere. I weakly lifted my gaze, noticing a distinct handprint on his left cheek. Trembling, Jiang Yi scooped me up, and the car sped off towards the hospital. Lying on the hospital bed, I deliberately turned my back to him, listening to his hurried breaths as he conversed with the doctor. Signs of a mild, threatened miscarriage. Absolute bed rest is imperative. The doctor's voice was grave. Particularly, emotional stability must be maintained. Jiang Ye's voice was hoarse. Her and the child. Currently, all seems well, but further stimulation could change that. The young lady's human body is inherently unsuitable for bearing mermaid offspring. The first 3 months are particularly perilous. If this continues, the child. The sound of the hospital room door closing followed, accompanied by a dull thud, akin to a knee striking the floor heavily. I'm sorry. His voice trembled as it brushed against the nape of my neck. I shouldn't have. I silently strained to hear his next words. I shouldn't have left you alone at home. His fingers cautiously brushed my shoulder. I abruptly turned, nearly colliding with his nose. I'm furious right now. Get out. The system had just informed me that Chun Men-gran's father had accumulated a debt of 2 million due to gambling. She was reluctant to ask the male lead for money to rescue him but contemplated having Jiang Yi do it without spending a dime. Upon arriving at the scene, she discovered that the kidnappers were Jiang Ye's former subordinates, dismissed from the Eternal Night Society for their mistakes. However, Chun Men-gran did not believe it. Assuming Jiang Yi had sent them deliberately, which led her to slap him. Jiang Ye's expression resembled that of someone struck bluntly. He opened his mouth, yet no words emerged. Instead, he suddenly embraced me tightly, the force nearly rendering me breathless. Let go. You're pressing on my belly. I pounded his back. He instantly recoiled as if shocked, staring at my abdomen with a gaze filled with trepidation. Gigi, don't be upset. I bought you salmon. Oh, wasn't that meant for Chun Men-gran? You mentioned wanting salmon sashimi the other night, he explained softly. I noted it in my memo. So, Jiang Yi suddenly knelt beside the hospital bed, gingerly taking my hand. Can you forgive me? I observed the redness in his eyes, and a sudden spark of mischief struck me. Cry a purple pearl, and I'll forgive you. Bianchi. 3 minutes later, I sat contentedly on the bed, counting the purple pearls before me. While the system chimed, the villain's darkening value has decreased to 70. After 3 days in the hospital, I uncovered a staggering secret. The doctor conducting my ultrasound was, astonishingly, a clownfish merman. I discreetly observed him for quite some time, and while he was bent over recording data, I whispered, "Can you cry pearls?" His hand trembled, nearly dropping his pen, and he awkwardly adjusted his glasses. Young lady, not all merfolk can produce pearls. I sighed in disappointment, turning to Jiang Yi, who was peeling an apple beside me, and murmured, "So you are a rare breed?" Jiang Yi paused, expressionless, and handed me a piece of apple. "Just eat." I pouted. Indeed, those who could cry pearls were treasures. During this time, Chun Men-gran called no less than 10 times. When the first call came, Jiang Yi was peeling grapes for me. Upon seeing the phone screen light up, he glanced at it, his fingers momentarily stiffening. I squinted answer it. Jiang Yi silently pressed the decline button. Cry 1. Bianchi. 5 minutes later, I satisfactorily accepted a pale purple pearl. When the second call came, Jiang Yi was massaging my calves, and the phone's vibration caused him to pause. I lazily lifted my eyelids, answer. With a stoic face, he hung up. Cry. Jiang Yi inhaled deeply, his eyes reddening. Plop. Another pearl emerged. By the third and fourth calls, Jiang Yi had developed a conditioned reflex. The moment the phone rang, his eyes would begin to glisten with unshed tears. Often before I could utter a word, I laughed, slapping the bed in delight. Jiangyi, do you have a condition of tear incontinence? Jiang Ye's face darkened as he silenced his phone, gritting his teeth. Songji, don't push it too far. I blinked innocently. What did I do? I said nothing. He, exasperated, turned to the balcony for fresh air, but within 2 minutes, he returned silently, placing a pearl in my palm, murmuring, don't be upset. The system in my mind was stifling laughter. Master, the villain has been trained into an automatic pearl-producing machine. On the day of my discharge, I carried a sack full of pearls, eagerly planning to return home and string them into a pearl curtain. Jiangyi held my luggage in one hand and supported me with the other, anxious that I might stumble. Just as we reached the hospital entrance, Chen Mengran suddenly burst forth, her eyes red and puffy, blocking our path. Jiangyi, I need to talk to you. Jiang Ye's eyes instinctively filled with tears upon seeing her. What the? I suppressed laughter, quickly linking my arm with Jiang Ye's, feigning gentleness. Miss Chen, is there something you wish to discuss? Chen Mengran opened her mouth, seemingly taken aback by Jiang Ye's reaction, and after a long pause, she stammered, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you regarding my father's situation. Jiang Yi interrupted coldly, no need. With that, he pulled me swiftly towards the car, fearing that lingering would result in more pearls. I turned back and waved at Chen Mengran, smiling brightly. Miss Chen, for future matters, please directly contact Su Yao. My Jiangyi is quite busy. Busy crying pearls. I added in my mind. Once in the car, Jiangyi, with a stern face, fastened my seatbelt, and I poked his cheek. What's the matter, not happy? He remained silent for a moment before quietly asking, Songji, do you only like my pearls? I was taken aback for a moment before bursting into laughter. Of course. What else? Jiang Ye's expression darkened immediately. I leaned closer, whispering in his ear, but more than pearls, I prefer the way you cry. Jiangyi. In the next moment, he gripped the back of my head and pressed his lips against mine fiercely. The system chimed. Ding. The villain's darkening value has dropped to 55. Master, victory is within reach. I was rendered dizzy by his kiss, suddenly recalling something and gently distancing myself from his chest. What about you? Do you only like the child in my womb? Jiang Ye's ears instantly flushed crimson, his gaze avoiding mine. Merfolk are absolutely loyal to their partners. Oh. I narrowed my eyes. Then what about that time on the rooftop? I was merely clearing my mind. He swiftly intercepted the topic, his long eyelashes casting shadows beneath his eyes as he added, I was also contemplating whether you only agreed to marry me for my wealth. I had never seen Jiang Ye's tail. Ever since learning he was a mermaid, I had longed to behold the legendary blue tail, said to be priceless. Yet, each time I brought it up, Jiang Yi would flush and swiftly change the subject. Jiang Yi, I leaned against his back, my fingers entwining in his hair. Show me your tail. His body stiffened, and he feigned nonchalance as he turned a page of documents. There's nothing to see. Why not? I leaned closer to his ear, deliberately lowering my voice. I've heard that a mermaid's tail is smooth and glossy, akin to a gem. Crack. The pen in his hand snapped. I remained speechless. The system in my mind was rolling with laughter. Host, you've triggered his response. I pouted. If softness wouldn't work, then I would resort to something bolder. Thus, that evening, while Jiang Yi was bathing, I stealthily slipped into the bathroom. The air was thick with steam, and the surface of the bathtub rippled gently. I tiptoed closer and suddenly yanked the shower curtain aside. A dazzling blue tail swayed gracefully in the water. I gasped, momentarily holding my breath. That tail was even more beautiful than I had imagined. The scales glimmered like deep-sea gems, the tail fin as delicate as a dragonfly's wing, shimmering with silvery glints that resembled a shattered galaxy scattered across the surface. Jiang Yi turned abruptly, freezing at the sight of me. Zhi? His voice trembled slightly. I stared at him, momentarily at a loss for words. Jiang Ye's expression grew increasingly flustered, and his tail instinctively shrank into the water. His voice barely audible. Did I scare you? I snapped back to reality and shook my head vigorously. Not at all. It's breathtaking. He paused, his ears turning scarlet. Really? Of course. I squatted by the edge of the tub, my eyes sparkling. That tail is clearly worth a fortune. If it were to be auctioned. Viankie. The system chimed in. Host, you truly have no fear? I grinned and reached out, gently brushing my fingers against his tail. It was icy and smooth. The texture of the scales felt like high-quality silk, yet radiated a unique luster. Jiang Yi shivered suddenly. a faint, muffled sound escaping his throat. I touched it again. His breath hitched, his eyelashes fluttering, a misty glaze appearing in his eyes. The system suddenly erupted in a lewd chuckle. Hee hee, host, a mermaid's tail is a sensitive area, which means you've aroused him. Jiangyi grasped my wrist firmly, his voice hoarse and unsteady. Stop touching. I blinked innocently. Why? Does it feel uncomfortable? He inhaled deeply, suddenly yanking me into the bathtub. Water splashed everywhere. I fell into his embrace, my damp nightgown clinging to me. Jiangye's tail coiled around my legs, the scales gently brushing against my skin, sending shivers coursing through me. His lips brushed my ear, his voice low and husky. Since you've touched, you must take responsibility. Wait. I still have 5 babies in my belly. Jiangyi chuckled lightly, his tail softly slapping the water surface. It's fine. I asked the doctor. After the first 3 months. It's perfectly safe. The system swiftly logged off. Take care, host. The following morning, I supported my sore waist, gritting my teeth in frustration. The system sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations, host. The villain's darkening value has dropped to 15. How strange. Could it be that engaging in human harmony while in merfolk form significantly reduces the darkness value? In my 4th month of pregnancy, I suddenly recalled what the doctor had said. I could ascertain how many babies I was carrying. Previously, it had been a dark mass, indistinguishable. So, Jiangyi and I returned to the hospital. He stood at the entrance of the ultrasound room, his expression peculiar, hesitant to speak. What's wrong? I scrutinized him. Could there be a problem? He remained silent for 2 seconds, then quietly stated, 5. 5. I shot up from the examination table, nearly sending the ultrasound probe flying. You merfolk can reproduce so easily. Jiangyi silently supported me, his tone tinged with resignation. My ancestors have always been single heirs. I widened my eyes. Then why did it explode into 5 here? He cleared his throat, his gaze evasive. Perhaps it's a genetic mutation? I despaired, covering my face. How long do mermaids carry? 10 months, he immediately replied, then paused to add, just like humans. 10 months. I clutched his collar in anguish. 5 babies. 10 months. Does that mean my belly will become a ball? Jiangyi attempted to soothe me. It won't. Mermaid offspring develop slowly in the early stages. I refuse to become a ball.
Cried in frustration.
This is all your fault. He pressed his lips together and suddenly reached out, gently caressing my belly, murmuring, will a crying pearl soothe you? The system in my mind burst into laughter. Host, you're about to give birth to an entire mermaid swimming team. I gritted my teeth. Jiangyi, if I become a ball, you're finished. He sighed, nodding in resignation. All right, I'm finished. After a pause, he added, do you want golden pearls? After the examination, the doctor handed me a yellowed old photograph, smiling reassuringly. Don't worry, my mermaid babies are only palm-sized when they're born. Very adorable. I looked down. In the photo, a young Jiangyi curled up in a shell, his blue tail gleaming like a jewel, his round eyes glistening, innocent and bewildered. He looked nothing like the adult version. I was astounded. Is this Jiangyi? This soft, adorable little bundle is the same fish as the cold-faced, intimidating leader of the eternal night who could send one to the depths of the sea. The doctor nodded with a smile. Yes. Young master was very well behaved as a child, just. He paused, seemingly realizing he had said too much, and quickly shut his mouth. I squinted, turning to mentally prod the system. What happened? The contrast is too stark. What did he experience after coming ashore? The system replied sullenly. When we tasked you, you slacked off and now you regret it, don't you? Less chatter, just tell me. The system sighed. The villain's parents were captured when he was young. His grandfather took him ashore to find them, but what happened? They discovered that his parents had long been turned into specimens, displayed in a human museum for several years. My fingers trembled, nearly dropping the photograph. The system continued. His grandfather collapsed on the spot, his health gradually deteriorating. At that time, Jiangyi was merely 10 years old, yearning to reclaim the remains of his parents, but finding himself powerless. Thus, he delved into the underworld, and through his relentless efforts, he eventually ascended to become the leader of the Eternal Night Society. I abruptly lifted my gaze to where Jiangyi stood at the end of the corridor, awaiting me. He was engrossed in his phone, his profile stark and severe, an impenetrable gloom shadowing his brow. Yet, who could have imagined that he was once a naive little merman, blissfully blowing bubbles while hiding in shells. A pang of sorrow struck my heart, and I felt a sharp ache within my chest. Jiang Yi, sensing my gaze, looked up and furrowed his brow slightly, asking, "What's wrong?" I hurried over to him, wrapping my arms around him tightly and burying my face in his chest. He stiffened momentarily, instinctively raising a hand to gently stroke my back, his voice softening. "Did the doctor scare you?" I shook my head, muttering, "Jiang Yi, I'll try to be kinder to you from now on." He paused, his throat bobbing as he swallowed. I could feel a subtle tremor coursing through his chest, as if he were weighing his words carefully. After a long moment, he hesitantly proposed, "For now, if I can't cry out colorful pearls, may I shed tears of a different hue?" I shot him a sharp look. "I'm serious." A flicker of amusement danced in his eyes as he leaned down, nudging me with his nose. "How about a blue tear tonight?" Blue was the color he only shed when he was in heat. I felt a surge of irritation, wanting to bite him, but the apprehension hidden in his gaze softened my heart. The cold and ruthless leader of the Eternal Night Society was now cautiously observing my expression, afraid of inciting my anger. Just then, his phone vibrated violently. Jiang Yi glanced at the caller ID, and his expression darkened instantly. He ended the call, revealing that Luo Sheng, the second-in-command of the Eternal Night Society, had kidnapped Chenmen Gran, intending to force Jiang Yi out of the organization. I sighed, reaching out to smooth the furrow in his brow. "If you want to go, then go." Chenmen Gran was merely a collateral hostage. I could not disregard her life. Jiang Yi pulled me into his embrace, the force almost stealing my breath away. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, his voice muffled. "When I was a child, I played too much and got stranded on the rocks." His fingers absent-mindedly traced my waist. "Back then, I couldn't transform my tail yet. It was Chenmen Gran who saved me from being discovered by humans." My heart jolted at this revelation. "So that's how it was. Once this is over, I won't involve myself anymore." He lifted his gaze, his eyes deep as the ocean, locking onto mine. "I promise." A wave of understanding washed over me, and I suddenly grasped why he had always shown such exceptional tolerance towards Chenmen Gran. If it weren't for that little girl extending her hand all those years ago, the person standing before me might not have been the living, breathing Jiang Yi, but rather. I dared not ponder further, instead rising on my toes to plant a gentle kiss on his chin. "Come back soon." Jiang Yi's expression darkened, and he grasped the back of my head, deepening the kiss. When we finally parted, both of us were breathless. "Wait for me," he murmured, his thumb brushing my lips as he turned away, once more adopting his icy demeanor. I watched his retreating figure, my hand instinctively resting on my swelling abdomen. The 5 little merman offspring within me seemed to sense my emotions, gently stirring. The system suddenly chimed in. "Host, have you finally understood why the antagonist treats the female lead with such special regard?" I softly murmured, "Yes." The jealousy that once flickered within me had been replaced by a profound sense of empathy. If it weren't for Chenmen Gran, I might have never encountered this formidable antagonist who would shed pearls for me. "Is there danger awaiting Jiang Yi this time?" The system reassured me. "Rest assured, the antagonist is exceptionally formidable." However, as the night wore on, Jiang Yi still had not returned. For reasons unknown, an unsettling feeling began to gnaw at me. Then, the system emitted a frantic warning, declaring that Jiang Yi had been captured. I sprang from the sofa, my 5 little ones inside me kicking restlessly.
System.
"Did you not say he would be safe?" My voice trembled. "What do you mean he has been captured?" He the leader of the Eternal Night Society. The system stammered in rare panic. "Host, I just updated the data. Luo Sheng somehow obtained mermaid inhibitors, and now Jiang Yi is imprisoned in the abandoned aquarium in the southern part of the city." The mention of the abandoned aquarium sent a chill coursing through my veins. That place, as the system had described, was once a display site for mermaid specimens. After Jiang Yi's parents were turned into specimens, they were publicly exhibited there. He did this on purpose. I felt my nails digging deep into my palms. Luo Sheng did this deliberately. How could he know Jiang Yi's identity? The system urged. "Host, please calm down. You are still pregnant." "Prepare the car," I shouted, grabbing my coat and rushing outside, commanding the bodyguards at the door. "Now." Immediately, the bodyguards exchanged glances, but none dared to defy my orders. In the car, the system continued to attempt to dissuade me. "Host, it's too dangerous for you to go now." "Be quiet." I gripped my phone tightly. "Show me the layout of the aquarium." The system sighed but projected a 3-dimensional map before me. I quickly memorized each entrance and exit, as well as the most likely location where Jiang Yi was being held, the central giant aquarium area. That had once been the aquarium star exhibit, but now it had likely become the carefully prepared execution ground for Luo Sheng. The car screeched to a halt outside the aquarium. Taking a deep breath, I was about to step out when the system suddenly screamed, "Host! A life signal from Chun Mengran has been detected. She is here too." I froze in my tracks. What? She was likely brought here as bait by Luo Sheng. She is now locked up with Jiang Yi. My teeth clenched, and I rummaged through the trunk for a gun that Jiang Yi had insisted on teaching me to use for self-defense. Lead the way. In the dark corridor, only the sound of my footsteps echoed around me. The deeper I went, the more humid the air became, mingled with a faint metallic scent of blood. My heart raced, almost threatening to burst from my chest. Turning the final corner, the sight before me made my blood run cold. In the massive aquarium, Jiang Yi was chained in the center. His half-human, half-fish form was fully exposed, the once brilliant blue of his tail now dull and lifeless, his complexion alarmingly pale. What shocked me further were the bloody marks left on his wrists and tail from his struggles. Chun Mengran was bound to a nearby pillar, crying and pleading. "I'm not the person Jiang Yi cares about the most. Please let me go." Luo Sheng sneered. "He went to such lengths for you. Do you think I'm foolish? He lost a hand because my brother kidnapped your father." Chun Mengran protested, "But I already have a boyfriend. My boyfriend is Su Yao. Jiang Yi has a wife too. Why not kidnap her? Indeed, why not me? I'm not foolish. That woman has beauty but no brains. Do you think Jiang Yi would fancy such a woman?" As Luo Sheng's words hung in the air, a strange silence engulfed the abandoned aquarium. Chun Mengran's sobs caught in her throat, and she forgot to struggle. Meanwhile, I slowly narrowed my eyes. "System," I spoke ominously in my mind. Was that remark an insult directed at me? Or was it a compliment? The system, stifling laughter, responded in a shaky electronic voice. Logically speaking. He acknowledged your beauty while questioning your intellect, which constitutes a mixed evaluation. I let out a cold laugh, my fingers unconsciously tracing the gun's grip. Suddenly, Jiang Yi woke with a start, his violent struggles causing the chains to rattle fiercely. The scales upon his tail had cracked under excessive strain, droplets of blood seeping into the water, diffusing into a delicate blush. "Luo Sheng," Jiang Yi's voice resonated with a chilling depth. "Dare to touch her, and you shall see." I merely pursed my lips, a pang of bitterness swelling within me. His words, so cold and ruthless, regrettably were not directed at me, but rather at Chun Mengran. System. A sudden thought struck me. Can you assist in incapacitating them? Due to regulatory restrictions, I am unable to directly interfere with the plot as characters, the system replied with a hint of distress. However, host, is your marksmanship not commendable? I let out a sigh. Expecting a pregnant woman to engage in vigorous activity is rather ill-advised. Is there perhaps a protective shield or similar item available for exchange? The system rummaged through its database for what felt like an eternity. I recall such an item exists, but host, you are so formidable that you have never deemed it necessary to exchange for it. Thus, I have stored it away. Allow me a moment to locate it. At that moment, a figure emerged from behind the door. It was Su Yao. He urgently questioned Luo Sheng. Was it not agreed that Mengran was merely bait? Why is she not released? Su Mengran stood in shock. "Su Yao, what are you doing here?" Luo Sheng wore a bemused expression. "He is indeed my associate. Thanks to President Su, I discovered that the leader of our Eternal Night Society is, in fact, a creature neither wholly human nor fish. Furthermore, it was he who covertly funded the development of a serum to suppress merfolk." Chun Mengran's eyes widened in disbelief. "Su Yao, did you not promise me you would not reveal Jiang Yi's identity? Why would you?" "Mengran," Su Yao hastily explained, "my grandfather is ill. Only the flesh of a mermaid can alleviate his suffering. Besides, are you not afraid of Jiang Yi?"
Su Yao.
"You have lost your mind. That merely provides relief. It cannot cure." Chun Mengran dared not meet Jiang Yi's gaze. My thoughts spiraled into a torrent of expletives. The system questioned. "Host, what did you just utter? What do those asterisks signify?" I retorted coldly. "My regards to Su Yao's entire family. There's hope for a cure." Su Yao's eyes brimmed with maniacal hope. "If a mermaid weeps and produces a black pearl, it can heal my grandfather's ailment."
What almost happened back then?
What did he nearly say? Su Yao's words sent a jolt of alarm through my heart. Jiang Yi's complexion was ghastly pale, his eyes swirling with a tempest of hatred. "So it was your family," he rasped, his voice hoarse with emotion, the scales on his tail flaring slightly. glinting with a chilling luminescence. It was you who abducted my parents. Su Yao fell silent for a moment before nodding. The black pearl is a treasure that a mermaid can only shed once in a lifetime, capable of curing terminal illnesses. My father learned by chance that merfolk resided deep in the South China Sea and mobilized numerous forces to capture them. Despite all his efforts, they would rather perish than shed a tear. Hence, my father, in desperation, could only convert their flesh into a remedy to alleviate my grandfather's suffering. The system could not resist a sardonic comment. Once a mermaid cries out a black pearl, she can never return to the sea. At that time, Jiangyi was still beneath the waves. If they had wept, they would have lost sight of their son forever.
Jiangyi.
I understand your hatred towards the Su family, but you alone can save my grandfather. If you produce a black pearl, I shall release you. A wave of nausea surged within me, nearly compelling me to retch. Jiang Ye's parents had been tortured to death. Their flesh had been harvested for medicine. Their remains transformed into specimens, displayed in a museum for years. Now, they demanded that Jiang Yi forsake his return to the ocean to save his grandfather. Chun Mingran's face went ashen, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. She looked at Su Yao, her voice trembling. You are insane. Su Yao gently wiped her tears away, his fingertip caressing her cheek as though soothing a frightened creature. Men Gran, I would never harm you. His voice, deep and gentle, sent shivers down one's spine. You merely need to help me coax him to weep. Chun Mingran's pupils constricted. What do you mean? Su Yao smiled slightly, leaning closer to whisper in her ear. The one he cherishes most is you, is it not? With that, he straightened up, his gaze soft yet nearly cruel. Do not worry, you shall not retain any memories of this. After my grandfather recovers, we shall wed. Without a trace of reluctance, he turned away. Luosheng understood the cue, brandishing a stun gun as he advanced step by step toward Chen Mengran. She struggled violently, her voice almost tearing. Su Yao. You scoundrel. Su Yao did not look back, merely stating flatly, proceed. The stun gun connected violently with Chen Mengran's skin, her body convulsing as her piercing screams echoed within the confined space. Jiang Yi watched intently, his fingers clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white, blood seeping from his palm. Futile, Su Yao, he slowly shook his head. I can no longer weep. The one most important to me is no longer Mengran. I could no longer contain myself. Chun Mingran's agonized cries sliced through my nerves like daggers, while Su Yao stood by with a terrifying calmness, as if observing a trivial experiment. Increase the voltage, he said coolly. Jiang Yi is not devoid of empathy. He will surely weep. Luosheng grinned as he turned up the stun gun's setting. Chun Mingran's body tensed, her throat emitting unearthly shrieks.
System.
I screamed in my mind. Why have you not found it yet? The system frantically searched its database. Found it. A temporary shield, though small. It can only last 3 minutes. That will suffice. I pressed the shield against my abdomen and charged forth, simultaneously signaling the guards at the door to commence their encirclement.
Bang.
A shot rang out, striking Luosheng's wrist, causing the stun gun to clatter to the ground. Luosheng let out a cry, staggering back, clutching his bloodied hand in disbelief. You? Su Yao's expression shifted dramatically. Songji. Jiang Yi abruptly looked up. Upon seeing me, his pupils dilated. Gigi? His voice trembled, brimming with astonishment, fear, and rage. I tightened my grip on the gun, coldly addressing Su Yao. President Su, it is rather unbecoming to bully a woman, don't you think? Su Yao's expression darkened. Luosheng glanced between me and Jiang Yi, suddenly exclaiming, President Su, the one Jiang Yi cares for is Songji. Capture her. Jiang Yi will undoubtedly weep for the Black Pearl. Jiang Yi hurled himself against the tempered glass, his voice hoarse to the brink of breaking. Songji, run. I sidestepped Luosheng's swinging baton, firing back to shatter the overhead security camera, shouting without looking back, if I flee, I will release the child. Jiang Ye's momentum faltered, his entire form freezing in the water. System. Host, kick his third leg. Seizing the opportunity, Luosheng lunged at me. I executed a swift roll, clutching the stun gun from the ground and jabbing it against his third leg. He shrieked, curling up on the ground like a boiled shrimp. System. I meant kick, not let it go like that.
You.
Su Yao regarded me with incredulity. Aren't you merely a frivolous woman who knows only how to spend money? I shook my tingling wrist, a cold smile gracing my lips. You are the real fool. Your entire family is a bunch of fools. Foolish male lead.
Bah.
Thanks to my previous assignment, I had become an assassin, retaining agility, though my strength had waned. Before I could finish my thought, the entire tempered glass shattered like a spider's web. Jiang Ye's full force impact as a merfolk had finally succeeded, sending a surge of seawater mixed with shards of glass gushing forth. His tail carved a fierce arc through the chaos on the ground, sending two assailants sprawling. Ji. He grasped my wrist tightly, his fish tail dripping with blood. Are you alright? Just as I was about to respond, suddenly,
Bang.
the door was flung open violently, and a horde of bizarre seafood stormed in with great fervor. I was taken aback. At the forefront was a doctor, the clownfish who had once conducted my prenatal checkups, brandishing a scalpel. Seize those two humans. Drag them to the depths. I rubbed my eyes, doubting my sanity.
Diankie.
I turned stiffly. Do interspecies mercenaries trend in your underwater world? Jiang Ye's lips twitched, but before he could reply, the doctor stormed over in a huff. Young madam. These are the bodyguards that master and madam left for young master. Upon closer inspection, I saw two enormous king crabs wielding pincers at the front, flanked by several snarling eels, and even a few lobsters carrying coral as shields in the back. I was left speechless. The system in my mind burst into laughter. Host. Is this an underwater version of the Avengers? The doctor continued, they cannot transform legs normally, so they must remain underwater. They only come ashore when young master is in danger. I silently regarded Zhongyi. Your parents have quite the unique taste in bodyguards, don't they?
Diankie Fepepalmit.
His ears slightly reddening. They are quite normal underwater. Before he could finish, the lead king crab clamped down on Luo Sheng's pant leg, hoisting him upside down. Luo Sheng shouted, Put me down, you lowly creatures. Smack. An eel slapped him across the face, leaving a bright red mark. I was left speechless. The system noted. 6. Su Yao, pale with fright, staggered back, only to be blocked by several lobsters. A coral shield clattered at his feet, causing him to drop to his knees in terror. The doctor bowed respectfully. Young master, how should we proceed? Jiang Yi cast a cold glance at Su Yao and Luo Sheng, his voice as frigid as ice. Toss them back into the sea. Feed them to the sharks. I quickly tugged at his sleeve. Wait, won't the sharks get sick eating these types? Jiang Yi. The doctor contemplated seriously. Young madam has a point. Perhaps we should bind them with stones and sink them instead, for the environment. Su Yao and Luo Sheng. The two of them were dragged away, still shouting threats at the seafood. The doctor was the last to leave, carrying the already unconscious Chun Mengran with him. He patted Jiang Ye's shoulder and remarked, Young master, if the master and madam knew you had found such a wonderful companion, they would surely be pleased. Jiang Ye's gaze flickered, and he softly replied, Once everyone had departed, I poked Jiang Ye's abdominal muscles. So your childhood companions were seafood? Jiang Yi effortlessly swept me up into his arms, his fish tail having transformed back into long legs without me noticing. Now he leaned down to nibble at my earlobe, his voice husky. We need to discuss your threats about releasing the children. I protested, wait. I still have 5 little ones in my belly. Jiang Yi chuckled softly, don't worry. Mermaid pregnancies are very safe. The system hastily logged off. Host, take care. On the day of delivery, Jiang Yi was so anxious he nearly dismantled the delivery room. He alternated between shouting at the doctor to ensure everything was perfect and muttering in a corner, If anything happens to Gigi, I'll sing myself to the depths. He was completely in a state of mental disarray. When 5 wrinkled little mermaids were presented to him, he merely glanced at them before turning away in disdain. Too ugly. Take them away and release them. Just after giving birth, I hurled a pillow at his face. Jiang Yi, say that again.
Diankie.
The system chimed in. Host is formidable. It turned out that perhaps due to their human mother, these 5 little mermaids mastered the ability to transform legs far earlier than Jiang Yi did and utilized this talent for mischief. During the first grade mermaid parent-teacher meeting, Jiang Yi and I were summoned to the school for the first time. The homeroom teacher adjusted his glasses and laid out 5 report cards. Mrs. Jiang, your child is quite unique. The eldest failed swimming class. As a mermaid, he is afraid of water? The teacher's lips twitched. He clung to a float and cried for an entire class. Jiang Yi slammed the table. You are a mermaid. How can you be afraid of water? The eldest pouted, on the verge of tears, but the pool smells like disinfectant. The second one urinated in the pool. He turned the entire pool a pale yellow. The teacher's glasses glinted. He even insisted that mermaids urinate like that. Jiang Ye's forehead twitched with veins. When did I ever teach you that? The second one blinked his blue eyes, Daddy and Mommy did that in the bathtub last time. I quickly covered the child's mouth. All right, no need for further details. The third one ate spicy strips in the water. He stuffed the packaging into the filter. The teacher displayed a maintenance bill on the PowerPoint. Now the entire pool is swimming in red oil. The third one puffed out his small chest proudly. I even shared it with the koi. The fourth and fifth skipped class to eat barbecue. The surveillance footage showed two small legs gleefully climbing over the wall, brandishing stolen pocket money. The teacher exclaimed, "They even used lighters to roast classmates' squid tentacles in the school's small woods." Jiang Ye's expression was as if struck by lightning. "How dare you use fire?" The fifth one tilted his head, "But didn't Mommy say that eating raw food can cause a stomachache?" The entire office fell into a profound silence. I slowly turned to Jiang Yi. "Were you like this as a child?" Jiang Yi rubbed his face. "I only once sprinkled salt in a teacher's teacup." The teacher suddenly began frantically rummaging through drawers. "Where's my resignation letter? Where did I put it?" On the way home, the five little ones chattered away. "Mommy."
The P.
E. Teacher said my frog stroke looks like a jellyfish. I read my essay my dad to the whole class. And the teacher said it's impossible for a mermaid to secretly cry pearls at night. For next week's parent-child sports day, can Daddy use his tail to participate in the 4,100 meters? Jiang Yi, holding two of the little ones by the scruffs of their necks, gritted his teeth. "Release them. All of them." The system asked me, "Host, the villain's corruption value has been reset. Do you wish to leave this world?" I shook my head. "I want to use all my points to exchange for permanent residency in this world." On the specially made large bed, the five little mermaids were sound asleep. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Jiang Yi was frantically preparing seafood porridge. The once gloomy and obsessive merman now had a gentle sheen to the scales on his tail. The system's notification sounded. "Exchange successful. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the right to spend the rest of your life with the villain." Just before departing, it suddenly asked me, "Is it worth it? Trading all your points for a fish?" I smiled and replied to the system, "You see, he will give me crying pearls." In the little box by my pillow, the purple pearls were shed during moments of jealousy, the pink pearls during affectionate moments, and that unique red pearl was born the night the five little ones were to come into the world, when he held me and wept. The system disappeared with a huff. Love-struck brain, hopeless. The fate of the Su family was bleaker than imagined. After Su Yao's death, his grandfather, unable to procure the black pearl, began to suffer from organ decay. The elderly man, once reliant on consuming mermaid flesh to prolong his life, ultimately transformed into a putrid mass on his deathbed, his final cries carrying a rancid stench. As for Su Yao's parents, on a stormy night, Jiang Yi ventured out alone. When he returned, he was drenched, his hair dripping with seawater, and his fingertips stained with the remnants of dried blood. I refrained from asking any questions and simply handed him a towel. Silently, he wiped his hands and suddenly uttered, "I cast them into the whirlpool of the North Sea. It is a chasm in the deep ocean, so dark that even schools of fish would navigate around it." I stood on tiptoe and gently kissed his icy lips. "Shall we have braised fish for dinner?" The turbulent undercurrents in his gaze dissipated in an instant. Chun Mengran's psyche had frayed, as she spent her days fantasizing that Su Yao was still alive. They were merely having a quarrel. Thus, she would often sit at our doorstep, tears glistening in her eyes, seeking solace from Jiang Yi. He summoned a doctor to cleanse her of some of her painful memories, including those of Jiang Yi himself. On an ordinary afternoon, Jiang Yi and I took the children to the supermarket, where we unexpectedly encountered Chen Mengran cornered in an alley by her inebriated father. "Go ask Jiang Yi for money. Isn't he the one who listens to you the most?" The man yanked her hair and slammed her against the wall. Chun Mengran stared blankly, her eyes wide. Who is Jiang Yi? She truly remembered nothing at all. She forgot that once a mermaid ascended to the rooftop for her. Jiang Yi covered the children's eyes and turned towards the ice cream cabinet, strawberry or chocolate. Instantly, the five little ones erupted into a cacophony of chatter, completely oblivious to the alleyway. As the morning sun streamed into the bedroom, Jiang Yi was busy braiding the hair of our third child. The tails of five little mermaids flailed about, leaving the carpet damp. The eldest, seizing the opportunity while their father was distracted, stealthily squeezed toothpaste into the second child's shell-shaped hairpin. "Jiang Yi," I lazily called from my pillow, "your son is fighting again." He turned back helplessly, his eyes filled with gentleness. "I'm coming. The deep sea will never run dry. The mermaids will ultimately find their haven."
The end.
Thank you for listening. We shall meet again for the next story.